Hey guys, I'm Hellhound, and today I figured I would review one of my favorite Stephen King movies, which is also one of my favorite vampire movies, Salem's Lot. Directed by Tobe Hooper, who's behind such great films as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Poltergeist, and even some of his, maybe lesser known films or that are kind of overlooked, like Eaten Alive and The Funhouse. This movie came out in 1979, obviously based on the Stephen King book of the same name. It takes a lot of liberties, a lot of changes are made from the novel, which I read years ago, back when I was in, I think, like junior high. Great book, one of my favorite Stephen King works. I couldn't put it down, I was so intrigued by it. I don't remember too much about it, because it's been so long since I read it, but even if I did, I'm not going to try and compare the book to the movie, through the whole review. I'm just going to talk about the movie. And this is a TV movie, it was released as a miniseries, so they did tone down a lot of the more over-the-top vulgarity from the novel. Stephen King's known for having like a lot of profanity in his books. Salem's Lot's no exception. But anyway, the premise is that a writer, the main character's a writer in a Stephen King work. Imagine that. No, a writer named Ben Mears, played by David Soul, returns to his hometown, his childhood, where he lived when he was a child, of Jerusalem's Lot, and finds that it is slowly becoming infested by bloodthirsty vampires. Lots of the town people are being stalked and killed and made into the undead, and so he's forced to team up with a young, I think he's like high school age, a young boy who's, as I said, not really sure how old he is. I think he's actually supposed to be a little younger, maybe like 13 or 14, like a teenager. I forget. It's actually been a while since I watched this. I probably should have watched it and had it fresh in my mind before I did this review. But Mark Petrie is his name, the boy's name. He's played by Lance Kerwin, who does a really good job. And so they kind of become a team. And decide to hunt down the vampires that are destroying their town. Pretty much the main villain is actually the Renfield character, the lead vampire's assistant, Richard Straker. Here he's played by James Mason, and he does a great job. He's an excellent villain, really creepy. In the book, he was kind of a pervert, if I remember correctly. And I remember the novel repeated the line, I might be paraphrasing here, two men would never live together unless they're queer for each other. It said that over and over and over. Stephen King also has kind of a habit of repeating himself. But Richard Straker's kind of the villain, and he's protecting, the lead vampire, Kurt Barlow, played by Reggie Nalder. And that's where the movie really differs from the novel, in that Kurt Barlow in the novel was kind of a suave, sophisticated, really human-looking man who could blend in easily. He was kind of like Dracula, because I think every time he fed, he got younger and younger. Here, they went through for an all-out demonic monstrosity who he has no lines. Reggie Nalder as Kurt Barlow is totally speechless, and it resembles Count Orlok from Nosferatu. It's obvious that that's where they got their inspiration from. And he's really scary. Every time he appears on screen, it just sends chills down your spine. Being a TV movie, they did have toned it down a lot. It's obviously not overly violent or bloody, but there is some really intense, very suspenseful and creepy scenes. The movie's definitely scary. The scenes where Kurt Barlow's stalking his victims, especially the two Glick boys, through the woods, and that part where he just comes up and just obviously, what happens after that. It doesn't need to be spelled out. That's what I kind of like. Use your imagination. A lot of the violence is suggested more than shown directly. And the scene where the two Glick boys, both of after being made into vampires, when they bang on the glass and, they have those evil, demonic-looking eyes, and they're, floating in the air, and there's fog. They're trying to get somebody to come out. First is the younger Glick boy trying to get the older one to come to the window and let him in. And then later, the older one, I think, is doing it to Mark Petrie. So that's why he teams up with Ben Mears, and, it takes some wooden stakes and, become vampire slayers, essentially. But those scenes are really creepy when the Glick boys are trying to get let in the window. They're very eerie scenes. A very gloomy, very dark movie. David Soul does a really good job as the lead character, Ben Mears. There's also the love interest, Susan Norton, played by Bonnie Bedelia. She does a good job too. And then there's supporting characters like Mike and Jason and Larry Crockett and Weasel, the nickname, but that one old lady, I forget her name, calls him Ed. And I think they get married in the book, if I'm not mistaken. There was a lot of liberties taken here. Some things were moved around, like some events were moved to the end. Some characters were combined into one or deleted altogether. I remember all the changes. I remember when I first read the book and watched the movie, being kind of disappointed with how many alterations they made. But it's still a great movie. Really creepy atmosphere. Great locations such as the Erie house. It kind of looks like a mansion. Barlow and Straker, running their antique shop. You don't see Barlow very much. It's so mysterious. It's just a mysterious character. Straker mentions him a few times. That's what I love about it. Just that mystique about him, like how he's never seen or heard from until later on. Then he starts appearing. When it first shows his face, it's just like whoa. It makes you jump every time. Really eerie. And Reginald did a great job. He plays a good villain. And as I said, he's totally different from the novel, but I think it still works in this movie. It's still pretty effective. Especially for a TV movie. Very solid. Great supporting cast. Lou Ayres, Alicia Cook, Ed Flanders, Jeffrey Lewis. Lance Kerr in particular, I think does such a good job as Mark Petrie, as I said. Really believable. And I remember one scene from the novel featuring Mark that stood out to me that was omitted in this adaptation was where he was being bullied, by a kid that was bigger than him, and he kind of outsmarted him and used his wits to actually fight back and defend himself against the bully until the bully was basically pleading for mercy. Mark got the upper hand, and I think that scene stuck out. It was omitted from all the movie versions, but it stuck out to me because I always love when a nerd or an outcast gets revenge against his tormentors. With an underdog, shows the more popular kids what it's all about or whatever. The underdog succeeds essentially, and he gives them a taste of their own medicine. I got tongue-tied there. I apologize. But that scene really stuck out to me in the novel, and I kind of wish they'd included it in the movie. But it is, again, it's really hard to make such a lengthy Stephen King novel into a even a mini series, which is a little more lengthy. It's hard to fit it all into one movie. But yeah, this movie's has some very shocking moments. Some really blood-curdling scenes. Very creepy. Great setting, great scenery, great atmosphere. I love the scenes in the forest with the fog coming off the ground, where Barlow's stalking his victims. And I think when I rented this, I accidentally watched it. It came with 2 tapes, back on VHS because there's 2 parts to it. I think I accidentally watched the second part first, and after I read the novel, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, they've already I won't give it away what happens, but I like that sounds like the ending. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, oh great. So I ended up watching it again after I watched the first part first because they had them out of order in the case, I guess. Great movie, great adaptation. Not quite as good as the book. It's not on the same level, of course, but definitely a worthy of having in your collection. Great horror film, great vampire movie. One of Stephen King's best. I previously reviewed Carrie and Pet Sematary, The Shining, It, Maximum Overdrive. Of course, I'm a huge Stephen King fan. He's one of my favorite authors. I know it'd be an obvious choice, kind of common. Some people think he's overrated, but you think, hey, the man's really creative. He has some great ideas. He hardly ever runs out. So this movie's a testament to that. I think I pretty much mentioned everything that I wanted to. This movie, pop it in your player for some hell-raising good times, and some genuinely scary moments. And I love how it's set in a small town. Stephen King's really good at that. All the people, everybody knows ech other and stuff. It makes it all the more effective. It makes you kind of feel closer to the cast of characters. But But anyway, yeah, Salem's Lot. Check it out. I love it. They actually did make a sequel, A Return to Salem's Lot, a few years later. I believe this came out in '87. So, yeah, it's kind of a while after the first one. This movie has little to do with the original. I guess it's set in the same town. It's all different characters. Has nothing to do with the Stephen King novel. It's really funny how Kurt Barlow is on the cover, and he's not in the movie at all. It's like almost the same cover, even, as you can see. Yeah, he's not even in the movie. It's all new vampires this time. Yeah, I think some people just come to the town. I remember Michael Moriarty was in it. Yeah. And I don't really remember much about it. It's been a while since I've seen it. Even after I bought it on DVD, I don't think I watched it. Yeah, I hadn't seen it since I rented it on VHS all those years ago. I probably should watch it and see if it deserves its own video or not. You know, if it deserves its own movie review on here. But I remember being like maybe slightly more gruesome, maybe more violent. You know, the vampire makeup was a little more over the top and demonic looking, even though we had a Nosferatu knockoff in the last one. But yeah, I think they just come to the town. It's full of vampires. I think there was a scene where they showed that they did cast a reflection in mirrors. That's like the only thing that I remember about it. But yeah, this movie, my memory's really fuzzy. It's been a long time since I watched it, so I can't really do it justice. But I'll have to watch it soon, and if I think that it deserves its own review, then I'll include that in a video. But yeah, Return to Salem's Lot. One of the first and only sequel that, the 1979 Tobe Hooper classic ever got. And then, of course, there was another adaptation in 2003, Salem's Lot, another mini-series, or 2004, sorry. This time, Rob Lowe plays Ben Mears. And, it's the same storyline. He comes to, his hometown, Jerusalem's Lot. He senses something eerie and ominous going on. An outsider is moved to the sleepy little town, and vampires are taking over. Now this time, Kurt Barlow is played by Rutger Hauer, and he was a little closer to his literary counterpart. A lot more than Reggie Nalder was. He talked, he could blend in, he looked human. He actually had lines. He had a normal speech pattern instead of that. He had a raspy hiss, and he wasn't a demonic-looking monster. And Donald Sutherland plays Straker. He does a really good job. Probably a little closer to the novel than James Mason was. But, this is a pretty good adaptation, too. It also strays pretty far from the novel. It makes a lot of changes. A lot of things are out of order. It's a little, I think they tried to up the violence a little bit. It was a little darker, maybe. A little more over the top and outrageous. One thing I didn't like is, Rob Lowe is Ben Mears. He was a good choice, but they kind of made him a bit of a jerk. He was kind of pretentious in this movie. He was kind of mean. I didn't really care for that. Samantha Mathis plays Susan Norton this time, and she did a good job. All the supporting cast is good, but the highlights definitely being Sutherland and Hauer. They make a great villainous duo. Mark Peacher is played by Dan Bird, who does a commendable job. He teams up with Ben Mears in this one, just like another adaptation. There's also James Cromwell, who I always think of him as the dad from Revenge of the Nerds. He's usually a riot, and he's pretty good in this movie. All the supporting characters are here. Crockett and Mike and all them. Definitely a little more gruesome. The scene with the Glick boys is also done pretty effective here. I think I'll prefer the original. Both stray pretty far from the novel. Both take a lot of liberties. Neither version is all that faithful. But I definitely recommend both of them, different ways. Read the novel first, then watch this movie. Then I guess check out the sequel, even though it's pretty irrelevant from my memory serves. And then check out this adaptation as well. I think you'll be pretty pleased. If you're a fan of vampires, Salem's Lot's definitely a great story. And it's definitely a must-read. Check out the book, most of all. But the movie adaptations are pretty good, too. In different ways. They both have their moments. Alright, guys. Well, I'm Hellhound, and sorry that these movies weren't, all that fresh in my mind. I probably should have watched all of them before I did this review. But I really wanted to talk about Salem's Lot. I was just, itching to do it. If Return to Salem's Lot deserves its own video, I guess we'll find out soon enough. Alright, guys. I'm Hellhound, and thanks for watching my show. Until next time.